Grade 2s, happy Friday. All right, I'm glad you joined me for some comprehension. So grab your booklet, grab a pencil, find a spot where you can focus, and let's get started. All right, so we're here grade 2 to do our comprehension today. So using my camera, we're gonna say read the passage and think about what it would be like if you could not see or hear. So what would it be like if you couldn't see or hear? And let's read. Annie Sullivan had a hard life. She grew up alone and very poor. Annie had trouble with her eyes, too. She could not see well. One day, after Annie grew up, a family called her. They needed help with their daughter. Their little girl's name was Helen Keller. Helen needed a teacher. Helen could not see. She could not hear either. She felt scared and alone. Annie wanted to help Helen. She wanted to be able to talk to her. Annie tried to teach Helen sign language, a way to make words with your hands. But Helen did not understand what Annie tried to teach her. One day by the outside water pump, Annie had an idea. She held one of Helen's hands in the water. Then Annie traced water on Helen's other hand again and again. At last, Helen understood. She understood that what she was feeling had a name. Helen was on her way to a lifetime of learning. So, before I get started on the comprehension, I want to encourage you to go today and spend some time looking up Helen Keller and Annie Sullivan because they have a really cool story. There may even be some books. I know there's books on Epic about Helen Keller, so definitely go check that out because that's something very cool. Remember, if you're searching things online, you have to add for kids. So you're going to search, if you're going to search this up, you're going to write Helen Keller facts for kids. Anytime we search anything online, make sure you add the for kids, just to make sure that you're seeing things that are safe for you. Okay, now we're gonna go down and I'm gonna move my stack of Harry Potter books down so that I can see the questions. Okay, so we're gonna go through these questions together. A time when it was hard to learn something new was, so maybe you can write down a time where you learned something new but it was really hard. Maybe you learned to skate and that was tough. Maybe you learned to read and you had a hard time with the words. Maybe you were learning something in math that was tough and you had to keep going. So write down sometime that it was hard to learn something new. So I'm gonna say, right now I'm learning something new. I'm learning every day how to make videos. And that was hard. It was not something that I've ever done before, but it was important, so I had to figure it out. So what is something that was hard for you to learn, but you still learned it, you still practice? Now, I am in no way saying that learning how to make YouTube videos is anything like what Helen Keller went through, but I am saying that sometimes learning new things is hard, and it's important that you don't give up. Because when it's hard, that means your brain is making connections. Your brain is learning things. You're building up your brain, which is so awesome. So whatever it was that was hard for you to learn, think about it. Think about it and write it down and reflect on that now. Okay, you can pause the video to do that and then continue for skills practice. Read the question, fill in the bubble next to the correct answer. So the first question is, what is the best title for the passage? So how to talk with your hands, well, that's kind of what it's about. It doesn't really give us too much information about that though. Writing on your hand, it talks about that, but that's not the whole point of what we're reading here. So these two, I guess they could be part of it, but they're not the best answer. A good teacher, well, it did start by talking about Annie Sullivan, and she is the teacher, so I would say that. Or how water feels. Maybe not the whole point of the passage. So I think the best choice is C. All right, where does Helen learn her first word? So near a river. No, it wasn't near a river. In a kitchen. Now, she was putting her hand on water, but if you look up on your passage, they weren't in the kitchen. They weren't in the bathtub. They were by a water pump, because this happened a long time ago, and people in the olden days had to pump water right from the ground sometimes. So they had like a machine, and they pull a lever up and down, and it brings water out of the ground. Okay, and today we're lucky. Most of us just have to turn on the tap to get some water, but that's relatively new. Okay, because Helen Keller was alive a while ago. Number 3, how does Helen feel before Annie comes? So you don't need to read the passage for this. Think about it. If you couldn't hear or see anything, you couldn't hear your parents or your friends, you couldn't talk to anybody, you would be feeling very alone. So before Annie comes, Helen is feeling very alone. Using hand signs help people to see faces? No, it doesn't help Helen see faces. Share ideas? It does help her share ideas. Hear sounds? No. Oh, I didn't mean to color that in. That's a mistake. Don't color that in. That was supposed to be an X. It didn't help her hear. She still couldn't hear even when she had the hand signals. Or smell foods. Well, she didn't need hand signals to smell foods. So our answer is A, see faces. That was helpful to you. Now remember that it is spring break after today, so you get a week off of homework assignments and YouTube lessons. But if you're looking for something to help you with your comprehension, help you with your reading, remember to check out Epic Books. They've given us free home access. So if you haven't got that set up yet and you need some help with it, please send me a message and I can help you. And then you'll have some new books to read over the break. I'm also going to make sure I enable epic videos. So watching the videos, talking about the videos, that'll all help your comprehension and reading skills. Also, it's pretty fun. So I hope you have a wonderful break and make sure you check back the Monday after spring break for more comprehension lessons. Have a good one.